Good morning.
Hello, Nikki. We can't see you yet.
Okay, let me get it fixed up. My internet. I'm plugged in, but I'm gonna monkey with my connection for 1 second. So.
Hey, there you are.
Hello.
Hello, friend.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. My daughter started cross country this week though, so I'm like up at 4:30 in the morning, and
oh gosh.
Yeah.
That means Mama started cross country.
So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, trying to readjust, but looking forward to our call today. This is always a favorite part of my month.
Yay, fantastic. All right, you guys, this is the HR Roundup call for those of you just joining us for the first time or maybe listening on the replay. This is Nikki Ramirez, our resident HR person. She helps so many people in the pet industry, and I'm so proud that and happy to be able to deliver her to you, and I thank you for that, Nikki, and just like really helping us all become better business owners. You guys, Nikki has a appointment coming up at 11 o'clock, so we're going to have a hard stop, but I don't think that'll be too much of a problem because we only got 2 questions for you, and they're both from our girl Melanie. Melanie and Morag, thanks for joining me again. We were just actually on a Better Marketing with Bella Zoom call for the past hour talking marketing. So nice to see you guys again. I think Sue was there too. What's up, Sue?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question, I cannot copy and paste it for some reason, but I'll just read it. And I know you have a copy as well, but just so that everyone can see it. My sitter is amazing. Like, truly been a godsend to have around. Today, she tells me she's not comfortable with doing meet and greets alone. I have been going with her for training for a month now. She told me at first it was okay. At first, it was because she was shy. Okay, we could work on that. Then yesterday, she says she's not comfortable going in homes that no one else has met yet. I do not want to make this a deal breaker because she's truly awesome asset to have, but my expectations for everyone is that they will need to be able to do them occasionally and can't rely on me to be there 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. She has like 2 or 3 unexpectedly walked into visits where clients haven't left yet or were home early and forgot to cancel and handled it well. I was not there, of course, so it wouldn't be like that at all knowing it's a scheduled meet. How would you support your employee in this situation to help them overcome this fear? I want to include this in her PR as an actionable item to improve on performance review. I think that's what that is. Other than this, she is seriously a kick-ass employee, or would you let it go? I really want all staff to be empowered to do these and not held hostage when I truly can accommodate myself. Update, she says men are creepy and gross, has a lot of boyfriend issues, I guess, and would probably be okay if it were a woman or woman present with a husband. Does not want to be the first to meet any men alone because she feels she can't protect herself from them. Before I hand it over to you, I just want to say this is the first time we've ever had this question, and I'm so super excited to hear what you have to say, Nikki. Take it away.
Sure. Melanie, anything to add? Oh, she's walking away too. Sorry. Did you have something to add before I jump in?
Oh, I just meant to say, I think when it was read, I was saying she has a boyfriend. So, I mean, they can't be all that creepy and bad.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think, so I've run into this before myself because I have clients that are in like different services like home health care and installation of blinds and windows and doors and all kinds of stuff. So, I think it's interesting that you're unable to uncover the root cause, which is the feeling about not wanting to be in an unsafe position with men. And it's a perceived unsafe position because most of your clients would never, ever, ever do anything ever, to complicate the relationship with their sitter, or to compromise the relationship that they have with your company. And so
not that they wouldn't be clients.
Exactly. Well, and I think so that's what I want you to think about first of all, is to try to position the job and the requirement of learning to go on meet and greets as, something that is typical of the industry, and that you haven't had a problem with it. So that sort of reinforcement in that, in the 10 years that I've been doing this, in the 20 years, and the, whatever, however long it is, we 20,000, 100 million years. Yeah, we've never run into an issue where a sitter's safety has been compromised like that, or any, so you can kind of come up with a positioning statement. And reinforcing to the employee that their safety is a top priority is also, a piece of the same conversation. So, we want to step into it by validating that they've raised an issue with you that is real to them, right? So I hear what you're saying, that you feel unsafe going on meet and greets, particularly in homes where there are men, present, or the client is a man. There may not be another woman present. And, I hear what you're saying. And let me tell you what I've seen based on my experience and the experience of other people. This is your network, Melanie. You have, decades of experience sitting alongside you here. And so you can refer to, the other businesses that you have exposure to as well. Right. So based on what my experience, based on, what I see in the industry as an expert, as a leader for this company, I want you to feel safe, and I want you to rest assured that this isn't a problem that we have. And so, then you can, so what, I guess, to answer that underlying question too, do you let it go? Probably not. You probably are still stepping into the conversation about becoming more comfortable with meet and greets, but is it something that you have to push the person into immediately, right away? No, it's not. If you want to preserve the relationship and you don't have that hard line in the sand, then you can say, listen, although this is an absolute job requirement, I'm willing to work with you on it. And then go into, how important your safety is for your employees, and start to step into your experience to share, that shared experience is important. And then asking, now we're going to turn it and put it back with the employee to help us. What is one thing that you can think of, one or two things that you can think of that we can do to help you overcome, this fear, this issue? Because it's a job requirement ultimately. So you can give the person time to work on it, but I would say letting it, fall off the discussion table is not necessarily appropriate. So is that a good start?
Yeah, I mean, when even she was being hired, she said, well, I had this question to go to my mom, because she's young, she's in college,
Mm-hmm.
she lives at home, but her parents are about to move. But anyway, and she said, you want to know if you background check the clients? And I'm like, no, that's not an industry. Not feasible.
Oh my gosh.
I said, no one's ever gone to a meet and greet where I haven't spoken to them on the phone. They've registered in their system, which means they've entered their credit card and their address. There's some certain measures that they've had to kind of put skin in the game.
Right.
And I said, and they do know that you're being GPS tracked.
Right.
Not for their sake, but for the company's sake. So I said, but I don't want to say this would never happen, because I'm sure all the pet groups, if I put it out there, there's somebody who can give me a horror story about something that happened, and that's why they carry a gun now. We don't carry firearms. I don't know if I should say, well, would you like me to provide you with one of those, beep things that puts out an alert, or I don't know if I want to offer mace. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't know, what.
Yeah, I guess
self-defense class is an employee engagement thing as a group. I thought that might be a fun way to kind of
go do the axe throwing. We have an axe throwing place here.
Oh.
And
no, we're talking about employee events. I'm like, oh, a self-defense class. That's fun.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, and I think you are always trying to think of ways in particular to, since we get to work together outside of this, you as a human, you're always trying to help other people. So try to just pause and see what her recommendations are.
Okay.
Yeah. And if she wants a beeper or something like that, or a buzzer or a horn, a safety horn or whatever, that's all fine.
I mean, when I asked her the first time, her thing was, I just don't want to go where there's a man. I'm like, well, even if you asked ahead of time, let's say the woman booked it, but she had to go to work or something, and her husband's there. I mean, I can't guarantee that. And so her solution was, well, I just won't go to meet and greets with men there, with a man there alone.
Yeah.
If his wife was there, she'd be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, I can't accommodate that.
Yeah. And so this is one of those really fundamental job fit situations, right?
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, but she could overcome it probably with some careful consideration and some reinforcement and some successful track record, right? And so you can tell her, I believe that you're going to become comfortable with this over time. I'm not going to force you into it full speed ahead right now, but we are going to talk about this. We're going to come up with some ideas, and I'm going to, work with you over time. But you have to still put it out there that, like, this is a job requirement. You can't craft a position where you limit your employees' contact with the public in that way when there's, you have a whole company to run. And so that would just be cost prohibitive long term.
What would you tell an employee if you were in my situation? Like, what would be recommended ways that you think that I would be able to help her overcome it? Because I don't know how. I've been with her on all the meet and greets. I mean, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So, I would probably just have the discussion and make sure that the person has, like, they have to come up with a couple of ideas to make it work. And if they don't, then they're saying that they are not willing to do what it takes to make the position work. And so, I mean, as much as she's a good performer, we had an HR team member on a consulting team before. And I was the trainer and mentor, but I wasn't the direct, like, I wasn't the hiring and firing person, but I was everyone's trainer and mentor on that HR team. And ultimately we had somebody that said, I just can't stand going into this kind of business. And it was like a certain type of business. They didn't want to go into like plumbing and HVAC and like, just kind of like, blue collar jobs type stuff. And we were like, well, those are our clients. So if you don't, if that's not comfortable to you, then this is not a good fit, because that's what we have to offer. So if this person loves, pets and stuff, ultimately they may decide that they want to be a veterinary assistant or work in a boarding kennel or something like that.
She's in vet tech school.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, and we can keep chatting about it too.
Such a good topic. And my favorite takeaway from that, Nikki, is when you included her in on it after you validated her, right? And then said, what is one thing that you can think of that we can do to help you overcome this fear or issue? I think that was really cool, because it is getting them involved in the process.
Yeah, the remedy. Yep.
Awesome. All right. So the second question, did I just cut you off? Okay, so the second question is also from Melanie, and then the third question, Victoria or Vicky posted in the comments here. So, second question: I'm not required to discriminate. I am not required to not discriminate. Awkward LOLs, but I keep an open mind in general. That is a standard I set for myself. EO workplace. What's EO workplace?
Equal opportunity.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This is what happens when somebody gets too much HR support. Then they HR acronyms.
I'm like, all these acronyms, and I'm trying to read it and comprehend at the same time. And I'm like, bleh. So I come across a very strong animal care resume application, older retired person, pay expectations met. Then I see she answered yes to a felony conviction and wrote, spanked my nephew in 2000. Now I have an open mind, but I do not know how to deal with this. That's a felony child abuse. Nearly 20 years ago, but still, I know I am not obligated to give a reason, and maybe I'm sensitive after being accused of discriminating on age before. It was an auto rejected in Jazz HR, so I have no clue who this was or any indication of age. Anyway, I'm hung up on this and just curious what you would tell me.
Yeah, so in these types of situations, if they are otherwise an attractive candidate, I would encourage you to let them know that.
You cut off. I can't hear you, Nikki.
Can you hear me, Bella?
Stu, I think if you're not muted, I think it's.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Start again.
All right. Okay. So if they are an otherwise attractive candidate, I want you to consider reaching out and talking to them about it. So it's not unheard of that you would allow somebody, to come into the organization and talk about it. They may have some sort of special story that goes with it. And so I actually have a client in the pet sitting industry that had this happen, and it was a pretty interesting story. And she actually shared some of the judgments and things like that from the court. So it was interesting, the details once they were uncovered. And it was a custody case that was ongoing in her situation. And so the other parent or someone in the other parent's family had alleged that this thing was going on and she couldn't afford a lawyer to fight it. So she fought it on her own. And long story short, it was like a single thing that happened one time. And so they did end up hiring her and she worked out to be a good employee. And I want to say she was there several months, but it wasn't long term. So, I think it's definitely worth a conversation if you feel like going down that, going down that road and just letting her know, or him. Typically, I wouldn't, typically when someone has a felony conviction, they are considered to be ineligible for employment based on our background check requirements. However, I would be interested in speaking with you to learn more about this particular situation. And you don't make any promises.
My fear, though, is like if I open that door,
yeah,
then it makes it even more awkward. Like, how do I reject if I decide not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how to handle that. I guess that's my biggest thing. I can ask all the questions, but then how do I say, yeah, no?
Yeah. Well, and I think, and it is really hard because then you really just have to say thanks for the information. And upon further reflection, we've decided not to pursue you for the open position. So it's a hard thing to say, though, once you have engaged in that additional conversation. But, something I would encourage you all to do is make a list of non-negotiable, like felony convictions and things like that. I'm not sure if that's and you're using AccuTrack, right? Or is that a different company?
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody apply and it said like 15 years ago I had a burglary and theft, but I've changed my life. Well, that negates my bonding and my insurance. So that's no.
Exactly.
Child abuse, if you got like convicted of hurting a child, you could hurt a pet. In my mind, that's what I'm thinking, right? But then she did write, I'm allowed to be around, because she was an in-home health nurse afterwards. She said I was allowed to be around clients and children. I'm not allowed to discipline.
Interesting.
So I'm like, okay, well, what about like a dog? Like, you know what I mean? I'm always going to be thinking, like, if a client said, oh, your sitter hit my dog when it barked, I'm immediately going to think, felony child, you know what I mean? So I just don't, but she was so strong every other way. I didn't know if I was being crazy for not considering.
No, I don't think you're being crazy for not wanting to open that door. I think it's definitely a complicated issue. I personally am a firm believer in second chances. And like I have a client here that owns a sod farm. And if you ever watch NFL football, they will put their sod in at the Cardinal Stadium. So it's a beautiful company, about 100 employees. They're a great place for people to reenter the workforce when they are coming out of, incarceration and things like that. So there are certain types of work where we don't put ourselves in that position of liability, but check your bonding, check your insurance, and then make yourself a list of, typical convictions that would disqualify someone from employment. And so it might be a grid that says like domestic violence or abuse, at felony level in the last 5 years or something like that, or 10 years. So there's like there's an offense, there's a time frame, and then you might want to just make a note of, why that's important, especially if it's an insurance or bonding issue. But it sounds pretty complicated. So I'm not sure that you have the emotional or physical time space for that.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Such good questions. All right. Our final question is from Victoria. It's a two-parter.
Okay.
The first one is, it's broken up a little bit in here. I have a question regarding vacation requests. I have 4 employees. 2 employees are 5 days a week. 1 is 4 days a week. 1 is 3 days. I enabled QuickBooks to start calculating sick pay, but regarding vacation time, I don't have a set policy. My 2 5-day-a-week employees are 25 to 30 hours. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy floater in place, so when they take a day off, it's me. Last week, I covered 3 days. This week, I covered Monday. Can you talk me through a fair limit to time off requests? I can ask that they give 30 days notice, but beyond that, what can I say? This is funny because it's actually from it's the opposite question I asked you last month, coming from the employee standpoint, and now it's the employer. So take it.
Yeah. So I would encourage you, Victoria, to think about creating a maximum leave policy within your company, right? Like you have to give some sick leave and things like that in order to be compliant with rules and regulations. But beyond that, you can put together a punch list of the things, that the rules or guidelines that we have in place in order to be great team members and provide great service to our clients, right? And so things like request your time off in, 30 days in advance whenever possible. You can't take more than 2 weeks off at a time. And in a whole year, in a combination of sick leave and unpaid leave or vacation leave, we allow employees to have a total of 15 days off. And then draw that line in the sand, whatever you feel is appropriate. I have another client actually in San Francisco in your industry, and we're going through this with another employee who had a medical condition, exhausted all the sick leave, exhausted the PTO leave, and then feels that they should just have unlimited unpaid leave on top of this. And so it's been a really tough go. But having had that maximum annual leave policy in place has been nice to fall back on.
Okay.
So you can kind of set that up. And you can, if you wanted, I'm looking in the chat. So if you wanted to craft some sort of vacation policy that would be on top of the sick time, and say, you could even,
bless you,
you could have people accrue the vacation based on the number of hours worked, kind of like sick time, right? Like you could accrue 1 hour of vacation for every 40 hours worked. And that way it's just kind of fair across the board. And it's easy enough to set up in QuickBooks because you're entering their number of physical hours at work. And so they could go on an accrual basis up to a maximum of, 3 days or 5 days a year, whatever you feel is appropriate for vacation.
Would you have it be different? Like for the people that work 5 days a week, they should be able to take more time off than somebody who's only.
So doing it on that hourly work, it's called true accrual. When you accrue based on hours worked, it accounts for that, because if they're working 5 days, they're working more hours. And so they'll earn it quicker up to the maximum. And folks that earn, that work only a little, they'll earn it at a very slower pace. So that's, I think, the easiest way to do it. And you're in California, right?
Yep.
Okay, so remember that earned vacation time is earned pay, and it has to be paid out when you separate. So if you let people accrue vacation and they leave, and they have 10 hours of vacation accrued that they haven't used, you owe them pay for that.
Okay, so do I have to provide vacation time for part-time employees?
No, nobody. Nope, sick time only, and sick time's not compensable, remember, at termination. It doesn't have to be. But any vacation or PTO that you give on top of the legally required sick time is compensable in California. Yep.
So if I just don't offer anything, then I wouldn't have to.
Then you don't have that. You don't have that financial liability. Yep.
You're saying if I did the kind of system of 1 hour for every 40 hours worked, then I'm kind of on the hook to pay that out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you fire them or they quit. You have to pay it regardless. Yep. Okay. So that's an important thing to know when you go into offering that additional benefit in California, that it's a cash accrual on your books.
Always have it loose,
yeah.
Try to make your appointments around your hours and that sort of thing. But it just always ends up being a sticky spot for me.
Totally. Yeah. And it's, and it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of sad too, because when people aren't working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, you would wish that they would just do that naturally without, but oh well.
Right. If you work 3 days a week, you don't need a day off to go to the dentist. That to me doesn't.
Yeah, unless your dentist is super hard to get into, or you know what I mean? You need a procedure that they only do on Tuesdays. My pediatric dentist only does procedures Tuesdays and Thursdays. Every other day he's just doing x-rays and checking in on cleaning. So you want to be open to that conversation about extenuating circumstances. But if somebody comes to you and says, I got to go to the dentist on Tuesday, you can always say, oh gosh, that's going to be really hard on, Fluffy, because they were really counting on you to be there.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yeah, all my employees, we close the week between Christmas and New Year's, and aren't open weekends or holidays. And so
yeah.
Pretty good schedule, and so it's just
yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, Nick, I know you have a hard stop coming up. Vicki has one last question.
Sure.
You want to just ask it, Vicki?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I need to write up terms of service for clients and also a waiver, and I'm stuck against it because I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. Is that something I could hire you to do? Is that something you'd be able to help with? Or is that legal?
Contract work, terms of service for clients or any kind of employment contracts, non-disclosure, non-solicitation, that's something that I would refer to an attorney. And in my business, my husband is a California licensed attorney, and so I would be happy to share his information with you. And his whole law firm is he does like contract law. So,
do you have any idea, like an expectation of what something like that would cost?
Let's see. I wish it would cost like $1 million so I could get a house that I saw recently.
Okay.
But it's usually a few $100.
Okay. $1 million here would get you a studio.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Well, it wasn't in California. It was in Colorado. It was in Boulder. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we only visit California. Of course, I have dreams of living there, but it's too expensive.
Crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Awesome, you guys. Well, this has been a super awesome HR time. Nikki, thanks so much for being here with us. Hope you guys got a lot from it. I did. These questions are like on point this time. Like, not like they're not before, but they're very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone have a great day. And Nick, thanks for being here. If anyone wants to get a hold of you or use you, how can they stalk you?
Yeah, so you can find me at hranswers.org and just click the contact me, or nramirez@hranswers.org is my email.
Cool. And if you guys have any questions on how awesome Nikki is, you can talk to Melanie, because Melanie uses and abuses her. And I say that lovingly.
Yes, I love working with Melanie. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Bye.